Warning, this is a review of Disney Pixar's Monsters University from last year. No audio video clips from the movie, music from the movie are being used, seeing that they belong to Disney and Pixar. Season finale time! Please rate, comment, favorite, subscribe. Or I might send a monster after you. Maybe. After a season's load of Kadic reviews, it's time for the first season to come to an end. 29, in fact. With this installment, Monsters University, the sequel to our last Kadic review, Monsters Inc. But it's not really a sequel, it's more of a prequel, telling the story of how Mike and Sully met, became friends, and ultimately worked their way up into Inc. From the rather brilliant and somber start, showing a young Mike Wazowski getting into trouble during a field trip at Monsters Incorporated back when it was in its prime by crossing the line into the scare floor and actually crossing into a closet to see an employee do his work only to be praised for being so small and unnoticeable. So much so that the young Mike, who is teased for not being scary enough, shunned by every other student, but wants to be a scare and highly motivated, made it ask the employee where he got his skills from. Monsters University. This compels the young Mike to become better at his craft, and he actually earns through a cleverly done and very musically well done musical montage at the beginning of the movie where the opening credits are. When he's finally committed into Monsters University, not everything is what it seems. It's much like back in grade school. Monsters underestimated him, things were partially difficult, and his new roommate is not who he likes. Randall. Yes, that Randall. The villain from the original Monsters Inc. is actually Mike's old dorm mate. But that quickly changes seemingly within a couple of weeks when another new student joins the academic fraternity, one James P. Sullivan, and his reputation precedes him. See, Sully's family is a family of legendary Monsters Inc. scares, and James plans to follow in his father's footsteps. The headmistress of the scare program that kind of reminds me of a mix of Professor McGonagall and Snape from Harry Potter is one of the most legendary scarers of the monster world in this movie, even setting a record. And after an accident, which her scare can gets tipped over and released in a in a in a rather freaky, funny scene, the two are kicked out of the scare program. But Mike won't say no and actually uses the college's yearly fraternity battle of the scare games as a way to try to get him and whomever else will join him back into the scare program because they won't. Because the headmistress thinks they can't cut it. forming the fraternity of Uza Kappa, Mike is now a reluctant Sully who's only using this team up as an opportunity to get back in, not to disappoint his family. Family now must battle the higher fraternities of Monsters University to get back into the scare program and maybe get this group of misfits noticed, which, when they keep winning off of things of a hide and go seek kind of stealth mission to a scare maze, Uza Kappa gets more and more popular as the underdogs, all the way to the final competition, which even leads to an Animal House-like fraternity prank. See, I view this movie as Animal House for kids, and it really shows. Shows with the many different jokes. As far as Randall goes, he joins up with one of the more popular fraternities and Uza Kappa's main number one rival that they run into in the finale of the Scare Games, a scare simulator, which, because Sully is still absolutely convinced that Mike can't cut it, but he's being subtle about it, rigs the scare simulator in Mike's favor. Something that actually gets Mike really ticked off. And this is even after a great fraternity field trip to Monsters Inc. for some positive motivation. You see, this movie takes all these supposed tropes of college life and shows them in full display. The crammed dorms, the early wake-up schedules, the pranks, the fraternity field trips and dares. It's all essentially here, and it's all kid digestible. On 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 top of everything else, though this movie is mostly about Mike and his growing as a character and his relationship with Sully, who is not exactly a good friend at first. In fact, he's rather terrible as one. But there are moments where the natural comic charm of Billy Crystal and John Goodman's buddy comedy from the original Monsters Inc. shines through, most certainly in the finale where Mike, sick and tired of being disproven as a good scarer, actually tries to go and scare a group of camp-bound kids. That turns out to be more laugh-inducing than scare-inducing. Which, by the way, there's a multitude of references to laughter is better than screams, which is essentially the final lesson from Monsters Incorporated, rated and learned the hard way. But of course, seeing that this is a prequel, my first advice to you is ignore this fact at first. You might pick it up every now and again, but overall, just ignore it. It makes the movie that much better if you go in with a clear head, not knowing any of this. I would even further recommend that you watch University first before you watch Inc. It will have a greater understanding of all the characters involved, especially Randall, who is just as conniving and dirty-handed as we see him near the end of Monsters, Inc. Of course, Mike's solo plan fails, and it's up to Sully to get him out of trouble. It's when they actually work together that they do something deemed nearly impossible by the faculty of the university: scare a group of adults. But but naturally, they still get expelled from the school, which is my one negative of this movie as an individual piece. The fact that they get expelled and not praised shows a lack of continuity here. We see in the original Monsters Inc. that everyone is paired up into scare teams. Why is this not expressed at the end of the movie? See, Seeing this makes the whole ending of them as a team unbelievable, and it also gives a message to kids saying that college and education, and finishing it especially, doing it the right way, doesn't necessarily mean your results in life will change. If you're meant to succeed, you'll find a way, even from the bottom to the top. Sure, finding a way to succeed even through struggle is a great lesson to learn, but the way they show it and the way they backhand education in the process shows that Pixar isn't necessarily the best moral writers in the game. The ending shows them having a montage from working up Monsters Inc.'s mailroom to the top scare team. And by the way, the mailroom thing is brought up on 3 different occasions of this movie. So you can kind of see where it's going. But once again, it's not the ending that I would have preferred. I would have preferred the teacher learning her lesson, changing the lesson plan of the university to be more about teamwork for scares, and show how the change in curriculum changed the world of Monstropolis into the world we meet when we get to the beginning of Inc. Instead, we don't get this ending, which makes the ending sort of bad. It's not horrible, but it's not an ending that you'll find satisfactory. But one thing you will find satisfactory is the college form of music done in this movie, done from the March 4th marching band, whose actual credits theme song, Gospel, is one of the best end credit theme songs I've heard in a while. Picks up the perfect attitude of college life and college success, giving everything what it needs to be: a feeling of place and time and experience, which that's what college really is. It's not really about the learning, it's about the experience of becoming somebody and finding out what you're meant to do, which is ultimately the ultimate lesson of this movie. But the thing that Monsters University lacks, that Monsters Inc. does have, is the emotional tie and the emotional care. Sure, seeing our old friends Mike and Sully again do bring up the warm fuzzies in somebody's goal after 10 years. But without something like Boo or something equally emotional, it just doesn't have that pull on your heartstrings moment. Even in Mike's quote-unquote moment of victory, you don't feel very emotionally attached to it. Seeing that the scene before, you know James is gonna rig it anyway. Which is also part of the problem. the movie tips its hands way too much, unlike in Monsters Inc. that use the sense of wonder and mystery and proper comic timing to keep the viewer invested. This movie just doesn't have the it factor that Monsters Inc. did. And that's really a downer. I really wanted this movie to be really, really good. And it's just not. It's great for a first watch, but I doubt you'll ever watch it again after the fact. This is not the sequel we wanted. We wanted the return of Kitty and all the cute stuff from the original Monsters Inc. Instead, we get a slice of life college tale. It's not what we wanted. What we got was okay, but it could have been better. That's why I regrettably have to give the final Kadic review of this season a 7 out of 10. Watch Monsters University first if you plan to watch the Monsters movies in a twofer. But if you don't plan to do that and you plan to watch this individually, you might be disappointed if you've seen Monsters Inc. first. It just doesn't have the mass appeal and pull of the first movie, although John Goodman and Billy Crystal still bring out masterful performances all the way around, and so do the rest of the all-star voice cast. It's not Pixar's best effort, but it's not their worst effort either. It's just a so-so Pixar movie, and sometimes you get those. But I would still suggest it for your kids for a good time. It's only about 90 minutes, so it's not going to take up a lot of your time. So with that, the Kadic reviews, at least for a couple of weeks, comes to a close. When I come back to Kadic in about 2 or 3 weeks or so, we begin Season 2 in a big way, with a review that, quite frankly, I've been waiting all year to do. And even if you want to get more technical, 15 years to do. It's finally time to pop the Xbox One's review virginity on this channel and give out a review of Killer Instinct 3. So, until then, find peace in your own nirvana. Rate, favorite, like, subscribe, and thanks for all the views as of late. And please leave comments on which of the Monsters movies is better for you. And if you had a college experience, please tell me in the comments section if it was closer to Monsters University's interpretation of college life. Until next time.